Hello everybody, it's me, Paul, with reporting live from my sofa, Pop Culture Edition. Now, some of you might be brand new here, some of you might be visiting me from my true crime channel, but if that is the case, either way, this is my new channel. I wanted to have another channel where I can come talk about my other interests besides true crime and just go over like pop culture type stuff, whether it's movie reviews, Jeffree Star, Love After Lockup, Southern Charm, anything that might be current and going on. So that's this channel. Thank you for showing up. And that's it. So the first thing I wanted to go over, because this was like going to break the internet, is obviously what the title says. The Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson collab for their second series to watch the processing and making and designing and all this stuff of makeup. And, you know, Shane's going to be doing a makeup palette. Jeffree's there for him. What will happen? Whose lives will be changed forever? We don't know. But there's several things in this video that they did that I want to talk about. And so we're going to get into those. I'll just give you a heads up. The main things of it are friendship, Shane, Jeffree, T. And those are kind of the main little things there. Before we jump into it, for those people, especially if you're coming from my true crime channel, because I talked to a lot of y'all who are like, my kids are into Jeffree Star. Quick little 60-second synopsis. You know, Jeffree Star is a makeup guru. Shane Dawson is Shane Dawson. He invented the internet and YouTube, basically. But they are getting together. Shane is going to show what it's like to, you know, make a makeup palette. And it's going to be his in this. And so we are watching him and Jeffree work together on that. Shane has done another series with Jeffree where Shane essentially went behind the scenes of the life of Jeffree Star, basically. And that video I really liked because I was like, okay, this is interesting to me. I love documentaries. I love biographies. I love getting to know people. I like seeing the real versions of people and behind the scenes. So for that video, I mean, I knew Jeffree was successful, but I didn't know he had all these other businesses, and I did not know he had that much money. Obviously, I'm not somebody who wears makeup, you know, or whatever. So, you know, I couldn't even sit here and say what my interest is in the makeup community, other than I just think they're interesting people to watch. And I'll get more into what I admire about Jeffree Star a little bit later. But for now, let's just go ahead and jump into it. And I want to start off by talking about Shane. So, you know, at the beginning of this video, we see Shane. He's at home, you know. Him and his assistant, or the camera guy, and Riley and the dog and everybody is, you know, they're doing their thing. And so he's getting ready, and this is one thing I really want to focus on with Shane. One thing that I admire about Shane is that he's very transparent with his insecurities. And because we, as human beings, we all have insecurities. That is normal. It is how life is. And I believe that the insecurities that come our way are essentially learning lessons for us to overcome and to move along, process it, whatever. Well, if we don't examine our own insecurities, they stay bottled up and really bad stuff happens. And so with Shane, where he's very quick to, from what I say, to put out there like, oh, I'm nervous that, you know, this is the makeup community and they're going to be there for Jeffree and they're going to make fun of, you know, my looks and this and that and the other, you know, and, you know, part of me wonders, because Shane does have this like kind of self-depreciation humor, and I do too a lot of times. That's my thing. I feel like if you can't laugh at yourself, my gosh, you'll cry your eyes out. And so I feel like Shane, you know, utilizes that himself to examine some of his own self-fears and insecurities. And so that part I really admire. I don't know sometimes when I'm watching his stuff, like where that line of, you know, okay, is this the character that he's playing, or is this honest to God legit? Because I guess for me, looking at it, I'm like, how could you be insecure? Like, how would you even think that people aren't going to be there for you? Like, you're Shane Dawson. Now, what's also interesting is that Shane views Jeffree in the same way. And so he's just like, you know, when Jeffree talks about his own insecurities about a product launch, or, you know, at one point Jeffree says with his brushes, he came out and they were kind of like, didn't go over too well. And he was like, oh my God, you know, he let it get to him. And, you know, Shane's like, I just don't see how, as successful as you are and this, that, and the other, that, you know, you're still insecure. And they both kind of talk about it. And, you know, they're both basically like, and I agree with this, you know, I don't really think they're cocky. I think I think Jeffree comes off as a little bit more confident at times, which can edge into cocky a little bit, but I'll get into that later, because we'll get into that later. So I think they each play off each other in that way, but I think they're also each the same way. And so I think that that is nice, because I also look at Shane as being like, wow, you know, you've overcome stuff and whatnot. And so it's good to see that he is still very very human. Now see, like another part, like towards the end where they're actually at the meet and greet that they're doing at the Morphe store, and Jeffree's out there and like 20-some thousand people are going crazy, and that whole scene just looks scary to me. You know, when Shane comes out and he's like, hi, and he kind of looks the way that I would. I mean, I feel like he's peeking out the door like, I don't want to go out there. The water is way too deep. You know, and that's kind of how I would be too, because that looks scary, and it probably is. And of course, Jeffree's out there, you know, he's owning the situation, and things of that nature. They play off of each other really well. Their energies are very complementary to one another, and I like that. Now, another one of the insecurities that I see about Shane that I think is interesting is, and he brings light to this, is, okay, the first one, if you watch that, he basically spends that entire thing, and when I say the first one, I mean the first series, he spends that entire thing constantly making jokes about how poor he is. And okay, in relation to, everything's relative. In relation to Jeffree Star, sure, he's probably poor. You know, I mean, a lot of people are. But a lot of people in relation to Shane are poor. Now, Shane gives it more context when he says, oh, you know, I look at all these other YouTubers and they're on Forbes list and this and that, and, you know, basically he made bad financial decisions with his money. I'm like, okay, this is a little bit more context than, oh God, I'm poor, you know, I'm going to need to go on benefits next week. You know, because it's just not the case. You can look at Shane's house and the team of people that he has around him, and, you know, he's successful materialistically in his own right. You know, he might not have Jeffree Star kind of stuff, and I don't know if he really even wants it, because part of me feels like his comparison to that is a little bit of that self-depreciation humor, and so I don't get a vibe that he genuinely is like, oh wow, I suck, I don't have what you have, if that makes sense. I could be wrong. I don't follow his every single tweet, so y'all, if you're here for tea like that, y'all might know better. Drop it like it's hot if you do, but that's, again, just my opinion, so don't come for me. So, there's that. Let's continue. So, let's get into Jeffree a little bit. So, Jeffree, this is my thing with Jeffree. I admire Jeffree in many ways. First of all, Jeffree is an interesting person to watch. Aesthetically, the way he moves around, he's just an interesting person. You know, he has the whole androgynous alien look going on. The makeup that he does is very interesting. You know, just his reviews. Now, again, I'm not into makeup, but, I mean, my opinion watching them, I was like, no, he's straight up. Like, he's going to say what it is. He's not biased or pandering to somebody's dollar. If y'all feel differently, drop it like it's hot in the comments. But, so I think he's an interesting character to watch. And so that part I appreciate about him. What I also appreciate about him is that I feel like when I'm watching him, I'm like, wow. Here is somebody who has lived many different lives in this life, and they have overcome many different things, you know, because he's just so confident in a way. Like, take away the money and the success, you have to have a level of confidence to go out rocking the looks that he did in high school. And this is a different time. I mean, you know, and I think he's a little younger than me, or he might be about my age, but I mean, not by much. So, you know, when he was growing up, there probably wasn't a lot of these resources that there are now. And so I just look at him like, that is so awesome, because I'm not gonna lie, I would have been scared to do that, like in high school. I mean, it was a different world for me. So seeing how he's overcome things like that and that confidence to go through life with that, I think is amazing. And so then also you see how, I mean, just all the things, you know, I mean, I think there was a point in his life where it was like, is this it? You know what I mean? Like, is this have I plateaued? And it's like, no, I haven't. Life is still going. And so he exudes that energy. And my whole thing is, I'm always like, if you watch successful people, you can learn something from them. And especially people who haven't been handed something. You know, it's easy to be an heiress that's handed, oh, here you go, or an heir or whatever. Like, you know, your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather worked for it, and now you're successful because you were born. And it's an entirely different thing to bust your butt and get to somewhere. And so I really admire him in that way, and I like the little insights that he gives. And I also appreciate the same as Shane said, where he's like, wow, you're still insecure about a product launch. Like, Shane's like, of course it's going to sell, but Jeffree's like, maybe it won't. And I agree with what they both said, is that, yeah, this is, you know, you have to have that to stay level. So there's that. So then let's talk about a little bit of the friendship with them. Now here's my thing. So what we see is, to me, their two characters' personalities mesh well because they're both interesting. They're both iconic in their own way. And they're both kind of like not hung up on themselves in a sense, I guess you could say. one thing that I think they mesh well with is because Shane is not of the beauty community, you know, so there's not that level of maybe, even if it's subconscious competition that goes on amongst one's peers like that, and so it kind of enables them to have this. You know, there's genuine moments in this documentary where, you know, like they're taking off, and you can tell Shane, and I've been with people like this, who they freak out in an airplane when you take off, and Jeffree's just like, wow, let's go, girl, you know, and Shane is like kind of beside herself a little bit, and Jeffree holds his hand, and, you know, he's just there for him, you know, and also for Shane to be able to tell Jeffree, this is my insecurity about his body image and stuff like that, and Jeffree's like, look, I'm Frankenstein, so they're here for you, honey. And it made it even better when they got there and you could hear the crowd saying, Shane, Shane. It gives me goosebumps. So, because, you know, it's like, I feel like I'm watching myself up there, and I'm like, that's really big of him to be able to say that. You know what I mean? Like, look, Jeffree, I'm really insecure about this. I just feel like with insecurities and things like that, and I might have already said this, but I'll say it again, you know, if we bottle those up inside and we don't take those out and examine them, it causes really bad mojo. And so I admire it when I see people that are in a limelight that will put that out there, because that's a brave thing to do. And it teaches other people who might be living, you know, an everyday life where they're not on camera, and they're going to a high school that they do get picked on. And it teaches them to say, hey, well, wait a minute, I can, you know, look at this inside of me, whatever that is, and examine it and realize that it doesn't define me. It's not that bad. And I can move on from it, or whatever it is for that person. So I really admire them for that. And their friendship to me looks very genuine. And I really, 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 really hope that we don't see this end in some kind of drama trauma. You know, he said, she said, oh, this tweet got leaked, and da 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 da. You know, Jeffree seems to be surrounded, and I'm not trying to say that this is Jeffree's fault, but I'm just talking about it is what it is. Jeffree's friendships seem to crumble in some fashion, and he talks about this, and he has these, you know, mistrust issues of people, you know, for all due reason. And even in the video they showed in the airplane ride, you know, and this will be a good entryway into the next segment we're going to talk about, which is the tea and the Dramageddon and all that. You know, there's hints at all the stuff that went on by showing, you know, well, yeah, here's a picture of us in the private jet with all the people that this drama went down with. And, you know, at the store, Morphe store, there's some, you know, little camera cuts to James Charles and this and that. So I hope that their friendship is genuine and it doesn't get muddled in drama, because also when you have this other entity, this other life on social media to the degree that they do, being like that famous and under that much scrutiny, trauma can happen. And just like Jeffree in the video was like, oh, you know, somebody put out this article trying to say that, you know, they were coming at each other, and for a minute you're like, here it goes, Jeffree's gonna call Shane out on something, but it was a joke basically. So there's that. So the next thing is this video, they definitely planted the seed for drama trauma, you know, about the whole James Charles thing, this, that, and the other. Some slight shade was thrown here and there. Here's my thing. I feel like when Dramageddon happened, and again, let me actually preface this with this. Okay, when that took place, I was glued to my phone, I was glued to YouTube, but once I got some answers as to, okay, now what did she say? Okay, now what did James say? Okay, now what did Jeffree say? Once I got answers and was like, okay, here's what everybody has said, and now it's kind of moving on and resolve, but not really. Does it ever? You know, does the tea spill ever clean itself up? There's usually a stain. You get what I'm saying. So I kind of lost interest. I was like, okay, next, you know, because that level of drama that went down that spilled over into mainstream, I mean, that was like spilling the tea all over your brand new white sofa. It's just throw it away. You know, it just wasn't going to happen. So that was my investment with it. I have not followed every single tweet after that and all this. I haven't done it. So that being said, I hope that this series doesn't turn into a Dramageddon Part 2, let's rile everything up, because my whole thing is the premise of what they're doing is interesting enough on its own. Jeffree and Shane are interesting people enough on their own without the drama. I personally want to see how a makeup line is created. And yeah, I would like to see how Jeffree does it. I'm most interested in him. And you know what? I also want to see how they do it for Shane, because Shane, to me, I relate to him way more than I do Jeffree. So I get that and I'm like, if I was going to do a makeup line, I would be the Shane in this situation. I would be completely out of my element. You know what I'm saying? So I'm here for it. So that's where I'm just like, they don't need to take cheap shots at like drama, you know, any of that. So I hope that they just stay clear of it, but we'll see. So this video is becoming long. I apologize. Again, if you're here for my true crime channel, I know I talk to a lot of y'all, and like you're like, oh, my kids are into Jeffree Star and this, that, and the other. One thing I really learned from this is that, you know, when I was growing up, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have any of that. So now I see all these kids that really idolize people like Jeffree and Shane. I think it's a beautiful thing that people from all different backgrounds, colors, shapes, sizes can be idolized now, and I think that that's the way it should be. And so I applaud them for that. And that's another reason why I'm like, please don't turn this into drama, because, you know, it's just not necessary. So I just hope it goes that way. But so for people who might be from my true crime channel, you know, or anybody, if you want to hear me talk about other stuff, drop it like it's hot in the comment section. Like I said, this is my channel to talk about other stuff besides true crime, especially, you know, after cases like Amber Geiger and things like that. So I already talked to a lot of y'all over on our Discord channel about stuff, but I'm just going to start this channel here and do that kind of stuff here. So I appreciate you hanging out with me. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked hanging out with me. And if you didn't, then don't subscribe. You don't have to watch me anymore. Anyways, y'all have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.